Good morning. Here's my outfit of the day. Today I'm wearing a blue and white chevron striped dress. I don't remember the name of the store, but it was like a Windsor's type store, a store that normally sells things like prom dresses, because I do remember being surprised that I found something like this there. I'm wearing a cropped jean jacket that I believe I bought from Macy's a while back. I'm wearing my Dr. Scholl's Monday shoes, and I call them Monday shoes because it's a minimum day. And as soon as the bell rings, I take these shoes off and I put on flip-flops. I'm wearing my tan band Michael Kors watch, one Alex and Annie bracelet that says love on it, and then my initial necklace right here that has the L on it. So that's it. I'll talk to you on my way to work. It's 7:15. I'm leaving early because today is the first day where we are going to be having some parking lot issues at my site. We are getting solar panels installed in our parking lot, and in order to do that, a huge chunk, probably more than 50% of the parking lot, is now no longer going to be accessible to teachers, staff members, or parents. And the parking before this was happening was already a nightmare. I think I may have mentioned that before. Like, parking has become increasingly difficult to find if you get at school right at contract time, which I do because of my gym schedule. So if I don't get there like a couple minutes before 7:45, there's a good chance that there's not going to be any parking because our school is just busy in the morning. So now the whole main lot, it sounds like, has been closed or fenced off because that is where the solar panels are going to go. So I left the gym early. I normally leave a little bit early on Mondays because I don't have agendas on the board, and I just feel like my Monday mornings go better when I leave a little bit early. But now, depending on how things go, I feel like I might have to leave the gym early every day in order to ensure that I have a parking spot. So hopefully I've left early enough. Like I said, it's about 7:15 right now. Contract time is 7:45, and parents start getting to school right around 7:45. So wish me luck. Aside from that, my weekend, I had a very good weekend. I didn't do anything special or anything like that. I actually did a lot of work. Having the cleaning lady come on Saturdays, she comes early in the morning at 8 o'clock, which is a nightmare to wake up early on a Saturday, but it ends up being nice because I go to school for the couple hours that she's there. And yesterday I got a whole lot of things done. So I got lesson planned. Remember, I thought I was going to get that done on Friday, but I didn't. So I got lesson planned and got all that done. I got all the birthday stuff out of my students' desk. So I'm celebrating 2 months worth of birthdays when the kids come today. After I left school, I went to my mom's house and edited all the math videos I had recorded and got all of those uploaded. So that was Saturday. Yesterday, I did my normal. Made a Target run, went to Vaughn's, the grocery store, to pick up my salads for the week, and then did some laundry, went to dinner with my parents, and graded math test, and watched the second debate, which, without making any political comment, I almost look forward to watching those because at this point they've just become entertainment, like just to see how ridiculous can they get on both sides. Like, both of them get to a point where I'm like, okay, so I watched that, and I went to bed about 20 minutes late. I read, and the only reason I went to bed 20 minutes late is because I did stay up to do some reading. So I had a really good weekend. My house is cleaned. I got things done. So that was good. As far as what's on the agenda today, I have an IEP meeting at 1:30. As you know, Mondays are my minimum day, so I have an IEP right after school's out. And I talked to Miss Hood, who is our RSP teacher, and I think she's going to take a couple moments to give you like an RSP or special ed perspective. And I need to meet with my team because we need to decide what STEM project we're going to be doing as a grade level. Our administrator brought a whole bunch of, I think, STEM kits or STEM lessons, and each grade level has to choose at least one to do. So we have to look over them and see which ones we want to do because that's coming up for us. We also have to decide, we have something called an interim assessment block, referred to as IABs, and they're like an assessment before an assessment. And I think the premise is the assessment before the assessment will let you know if they're ready for the assessment. Honestly, I'm not even sure why we give these, but we have to give them, and we get to decide what category, whether math or language arts, we want to give the test in, and then within that category, what standard or what specifically do we want to look at. So we need to kind of decide that. So that's my Monday. In terms of teaching, I think that we have library this morning. I believe that I will only be getting through one math lesson today. I will be giving a states and capitals test that I was supposed to give on Friday, but I extended it because they had the math test. And then they have to finish their items from last week's My To-Do List and Wonders. So that is my day. I will probably be checking in with you after school. So I hope you all have a great morning, a great day with your class, or a great day doing whatever it is you do if you're not a teacher. And I will talk to you later. See you later.
Okay. So, Ms. Hood, can you tell us how you view your role as an RSP or special ed teacher in relationship to a general ed teacher?
Okay. So I view my role as an RSP teacher as a support to the gen ed teacher, not as a replacement. So, for example, when a student needs their test modified, that would be something that I would teach the teacher how to do. We would talk about the specific student, their specific needs, and then look at different things in which they could support the student in that curriculum, and so that they can modify it on their own.
What do you think is the biggest misconception from general ed teachers? Because I know general ed teachers have different views on what RSP teachers do. What do you think the biggest misconception is?
I think that the biggest misconception is that once students become qualified for special ed services, that the problems no longer exist, that the student will automatically be brought up to grade level, and that the student is no longer a part of their general education teacher's classroom. Kind of like a relinquishing of responsibility of the academic progress of that student.
Can you explain the push? So Ms. Hood and I, this is our second year. Did we push in for math last year?
Yeah.
This is our second year doing push-in, which means in years past, we used to have a different RSP teacher, and when I taught math, and they were RSP students in math, they'd leave, and then they'd come back at the end of their math session. And then the past 2 years, we've been pushing in for most of the lessons. If it's a lesson we don't think would be, if it's a lesson we don't think those students will be successful in, we do not push in, which is very few. So now when I teach math, Ms. Hood comes down at 9:30. She sits at the kidney table in the back of my classroom, and I'm teaching the lesson, but Ms. Hood is back there just supporting the kids that are in RSP with her. So can you just explain why you feel like that model is more beneficial to kids who qualify for RSP as opposed to them actually leaving and then coming back?
Right. So when we're doing push-in for RSP math, it really helps because the students are able to hear the lesson as it is taught by their instructor. So like those subtle tips and cues that you might be teaching everyone, if they're receiving their instruction from a different teacher in RSP, they miss out on that. And what's great about the push-in is that I can see the kids right where they're at when they're there and immediately intervene if they're not understanding something. And I have the ability to take it down to a different level. Say if we're doing multi-step division or something like that, I can provide a structure for them, whereas if you were teaching the whole class, you wouldn't have the time to draw out that entire structure on their piece of paper for them to follow. And I can use manipulatives, things, lots of different ways of learning that you wouldn't be able to do with 32 students. And it's happening at that moment because they need the immediate feedback. And it's actually working out really well.
I know that I like it for that same reason. Like, because when the kids would leave, you really don't know what's happening, what's being said, how it's being taught. And I just feel like socially and responsibility wise, it forces those kids to realize you're not in a whole separate class for RSP. I am your teacher. Miss Hood is really here as a support system. So I do like the push-in model. And then you just told me
their ability is increasing because I've been working with the same students for the last 3 years, and I've been doing push-in with these specific students for the last 2 years, and I can see that their mathematic ability is increasing and their independence is increasing too.
What I like about the push-in model, not now. Mrs. Chu's leaving, so she was saying bye and asking if I was leaving. So what I like about the push-in model is that I can guarantee that my 5th graders are still getting grade level content. They're still having the math taught to them and hearing all the tips and tricks that I know because I only teach 5th grade math, and I have, you know, become very experienced with the lessons. I know that they're getting all of that and getting the support of Miss Hood while she's at the back table, supporting them as I go throughout the lesson. In the previous model where we were pushing out, which means they would leave and then come back, I really had no clue as to how they were being taught, how it was being taught, and quite honestly, sometimes the RSP teachers felt a little insecure about teaching it because they were not super familiar with the concepts or as familiar with it as your regular 5th grade teacher is. So it kind of helps them out along the way, and I think that works well. And according to Miss Hood, she's worked in both situations. The kids that she services for me now, she's been servicing them for a few years, and she said she's seen growth in them ever since she's done the push-in model. Like, they seem to be benefiting much more from the push-in model as opposed to them going out of the classroom. So I just wanted to give that perspective because I think it's always easy for us, both general ed teachers and even special ed teachers, to become so tunnel visioned in our world that we don't see the other side. So, you know, you're gonna have times where you're frustrated by the whole special ed process, or you don't really understand how things are going, but I try and take a minute to kind of see the other side and just understand that they have a very challenging job too. And their job is challenging in different ways, and really trying to teach my students and parents that they are in my class and Miss Hood really is a support to what's happening here. So. Good morning, here is my outfit of the day. Today I'm wearing the other Old Navy striped top that I bought not too long ago. This is the black and white one. These blue pants here I got a few years ago from the Gap. And I'm wearing my Aldo flats that have a pointed toe. And my silver Fossil watch. And my Tiffany's bracelet. And I actually put on, if it can focus, a couple of rings today. They're just kind of like little black. One's a black band and one's like a studded band. So that's it. So I just want to show you what our parking lot currently looks like. So here's the parking lot. There used to be several palm trees like right in this middle area, but that is where the solar panels are going, so they cut it down. In terms of this morning, I did get a parking spot. I parked right off to the side of the school, which is kind of out of the way, but it was an actual parking spot, so that's good. I didn't have to park on the hard court because they've converted half of our hard court into a parking lot. So I got here early enough to not have to park there. So that was nice, but I did leave the gym 30 minutes early, not 30 minutes, about 20 minutes early again. So I'm scared not to leave the gym early, because I feel like if I don't leave the gym early, then I might be parking on the street. But by the same time, the way that they've set up the hard court, there seems like there would be enough parking spots so that I don't have to park along the street. So I'll try and show you what our hard court looks like right now. So that is the makeshift parking lot that they've created to replace the spots that we lost. So about half the playground is cut off from the kids. Okay, so it is 3:31 and I am on my way to our district union meeting. I actually didn't even realize we had a meeting today, and I'm not quite sure how that happened because I'm usually pretty good about knowing when we have a meeting, but this one just kind of slipped by me.
So I was not intending to do this today. My intention was to go home and work on some math videos for chapter 5, so I'm not as pressed as I was for chapter 4, but the meeting calls. So as far as how my day went, I had a great day. Now, mind you, I still had to deal with some of my kids that have some behavior issues. The one that had a little bit of a meltdown earlier in the year, he was actually pretty good because his mom has talked to him, our assistant principal has talked to him, so he's pretty good. But my really active student, he still struggled, and I actually sent him up to the office today, and this is probably a record for me. Like, it is rare that I will send one of my students up to the office to speak to one of our administrators, because I usually am able to handle it, but this particular kid, my choice to send him up to the office was not so much for his behavior, but really to kind of send a message home to his parent. So I have talked to this parent at conferences, kind of explained in so many words, like I think I mentioned last week that I think his child has a behavior issue and that he might want to consult some medical advice. I sent him a text message last week and told him that his child's behavior was disrupting his classmates and his teacher's teaching. I didn't get a response from that. So really my strategy in sending him to the office today was to hope that he'd think, okay, the teacher's talked to me about this at conferences. She has sent me a text message, and now a administrator or a principal is calling me about this matter. Maybe I need to look into this. And so my assistant principal called him, and it didn't sound like much came of her conversation with him. He just kind of said, I'll talk to him when he gets home. So I don't know. So I still dealt with that. But in terms of getting things done today, I think for the first time this whole school year, I got through everything that I put up as my agenda on the board. So we worked to the last minute. Like, we stopped science at probably 2:40, and kids are dismissed at 2:45, and they hadn't even been packed up yet. So I kind of bribed them. I said, if we can get through the science lesson and get packed up and ready to go before the bell rings, then I will give you 10 drops in the bucket. And they're trying to fill this bucket to get a very light classroom party. And we will have a dance party tomorrow. Dance party really just means I play this song that has specific dance movements to go with it, and they seem to like it. So the dance party lasts all of about 3 minutes and 34 seconds. So I had a great day. I pulled a guided reading group. I didn't get as far as I wanted to because I have another, I just have a very active class. So even though my kids are 5th graders and iPads really aren't anything new and revolutionary anymore, the fact that I had them reading a book on their iPad, it just really took them a while to kind of calm down from that. So all we managed to do today was give some background information. It's a biography on Cesar Chavez. So we talked about what heroes are. We talked about times where they have felt like they were treated unfairly. How did they feel about it? Was anything resolved from that? And then they each wrote down 3 questions that they wanted to have answered during the course of them reading this book. We shared their questions and chose 4 questions that we'll be focusing on trying to get the answer to as we read. So we did not finish. But I just felt good about it. So I'm getting ready to go to this ETA meeting. This is going to be our regular ETA meeting, which is our district's meeting, and then CTA, the California Teachers Association, will have a rep there, and she's just there to kind of train our site reps and just refresh our memory on what our roles are as site reps. How do we handle difficult situations if we have a teacher on our site that needs our support in one degree or another, and that's it.
Hello, it's just before 7 o'clock. My meeting that I went to after school for ETA and CTA lasted about 2 hours. I think I left a little after 5:30. And when the CTA rep came up and spoke, she gave us just, you know, basic information to remind us, like I said, of what our roles are as site reps and how to support teachers at our site. And then they also had some lawn signs for Prop 55, which is a proposition that will be on the ballot in the state of California. So Prop 55 extends another prop, which was Prop 30, that basically puts an increased tax on people who make $250,000 or more as individuals, or as a couple or joint make $500,000 or more a year. And then that increased tax money, I believe 90% or so of it goes to elementary schools, or maybe not elementary, but like K-8 public schools, or maybe K-12. I think K-12, sorry. And then the remaining amounts go to, or the remaining percent, so like 10% go to community colleges. So I don't normally put lawn signs up, and I don't normally do things like that. I am political to a point. Like, I don't bombard people with, you know, my personal opinions or whatever, but I definitely have an opinion. But I don't normally use lawn signs or do anything like that, but I feel like this one is important. I know I've been personally affected when state funds have been cut. Like, I was pink slipped in my first few years of teaching, and like, you know, like I said in the previous vlog, my job was secured partially thanks to the conservatism of my district, but I did have to kind of go through it. I didn't know if I was going to have a job there for a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this one up because I think it's important. I know that people never like the idea of increased taxes, but I would hope that people dislike an undereducated nation, state, whatever, however you wanna look at it, more than taxes. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my window. I've already done that actually, so I'm gonna try and see if I can show it to you. So here it is. So it just says, yes on 55, help our children thrive. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that statement, put that up, because I do think it's important. And I am now gonna go upstairs, get comfortable. I'm gonna eat some leftovers that I stole from my mom's house this weekend. My dad made some ribs that were really good. And then I'm gonna work on updating my grades, I think. So that was my Tuesday. I hope that you guys had a great one. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. See you in the morning. Good morning, everyone. Here's my outfit of the day. This is one of my Old Navy outfits that I showed you in the haul that I did. So everything here is from Old Navy. The sweater, this undershirt actually is just a white top that I bought from Target. These pants are also the Harper pants that were 40% off. I am wearing these shoes. I'm not quite sure how they're gonna work. I like them, but I'm just not sure how they're gonna fare throughout the day. So I am bringing my black flats just in case. I'm wearing my silver watch and this necklace here that I am not 100% sure where I got it from, but that's it. So I will talk to you guys in a little bit. Have a good morning. It's 3:06 and it has been a very challenging day. And my challenging day actually started last night, and I'll explain why. So last night at about 9:30, I got a text message through Remind from one of my parents, and she was not happy with me because I passed back the student test in chapter 3 of math yesterday. And before I gave this test, when we took the practice test and when we looked over our quiz for this same chapter, I noticed that some of my kids are sometimes solving problems that they're not even being asked to solve. And when I teach math lessons, anytime we have a word problem, we underline the question, circle the facts, circle keywords that tell us what math operation needs to be formed and all of that. And so on the quiz, in chapter 3, there were a couple of very specific things I told them to be mindful of when they were solving certain kinds of problems. And I said it a couple times, and the kids, a lot of them didn't pay attention, and it caused them to lose like a couple of points. And so after that, I said, okay, from now on, when you take a math test, I don't normally require this, but I'm gonna start requiring it until I get to the point where I can trust that you guys are very careful about what you're doing when you're solving problems. I'm going to require you to underline the question, circle the facts and keywords of a word problem. And I told them that when we went over the quiz, I told them that the day before we took the math test and went over the review test, and then I told them that a couple of times just before I gave the actual test. So when I graded them, if there was any student who still didn't do that, I had them pull a green following directions ticket. I didn't dock their grade in any way. I didn't do anything like that. I docked their grade and I just attached the green ticket. And if their test had a green ticket attached, I wrote a note that said, I'll read you exactly what it says so you guys can help me out here. Just go 1 second. Because this parent sent me a screenshot of the note because she was not happy. So on everyone's test, I wrote their name and said you were supposed to underline the question and circle the facts of all the problems. So I wrote the note there so they knew why the green ticket was attached. So this parent looked over her son's test last night, saw the note, and I guess took offense to the fact that I even wrote that on her son's test. And she said she feels as though I am, instead of celebrating her son because her child is a GATE student, he's classified as GATE, instead of celebrating him and celebrating the fact that he got an A and encouraging him with his intelligence, I am undermining him and I am very condescending to him and I am not treating him appropriately, and that as a teacher I'm very negative and so on and so forth. So she sent me that at 9:30 last night and asked me to respond to her at my earliest convenience. So of course I did not respond because it was 9:30. I didn't want a parent to think that that's an appropriate time to send me a message and for me to respond to it. So I didn't, but I knew I would respond when I got to work this morning. 10 minutes later, she sends me another screenshot of a note I wrote on the test. And this note was just reminding him that I wanted all the work to be performed on a separate sheet of paper. She didn't like the fact that I said that either. She felt that that was negative and condescending. So my intention was to get up this morning, when I get to school, respond to her, see when she wants to meet, if she wants to meet with just me or me and the principal. But I didn't even get a chance to get that far because by the time I got to school, she had sent me another text through mine asking me when I was going to be meeting with her this morning or calling her. And as I'm walking up to the office to kind of check with the secretary to say, hey, I need you to check our principal's schedule because I have a parent that wants to meet, she had already called the office to complain and try and set up a schedule on her own. So what really bothered me about it is I obviously can't read you the words that she said because I'm not going to share that, but her tone was very, in my opinion, it was very rude. It was very aggressive. And it just upset me because I feel like, yes, I teach, but there are things that I do, like everything that I'm doing, in my heart of hearts, I'm doing it because I feel it's right. So I'm having students do that on their math tests because I feel like it's right. I want them to understand you got to really focus and pay attention. And I'm working on the weekends, and I'm working on my time off, and I'm coming to school early, and I'm waking up early, and I'm constantly trying to do a good job as a teacher. And for her to speak to me the way that she was speaking to me in these text messages was just very offensive to me. So I spoke to the principal about it. The principal said her piece, and we're gonna meet tomorrow, and tomorrow morning I believe, and the principal suggested that she just meet with her, and I just sent the principal an email where I basically said I'm not really, 1 second. They changed their mind. I just sent her an email where I said I'm not really comfortable having you meet her without me because A, I want to make sure she understands the steps that were taken before that ticket was given. And he was not the only one. There were a few students who got that same ticket attached. And I really want to hear what her perspective is because the way that she came at me was just so, like she went from 0 to 60. There were no steps in between. So My principal has not responded to me on that to see if I'm going to be included in that meeting, but I certainly hope so, because I'm really not comfortable not being there to hear what she's saying and, you know, to make sure things are being depicted and explained accurately, because right now she's just going off of her son and what he's saying and his impression of things. So that kind of put my day off to a rough start. And then I had some issues with a couple of my students who are challenges this year. And as in general, just really working on teaching my class to follow directions as they're given, whether they be basic directions or more involved directions. So that was pretty taxing on my soul. So right now I'm getting ready to go to another meeting. This one is a union meeting, but this is now going to be a bargaining members meeting. So as I said earlier, for the past few years, I've been one of the members of the bargaining team, and what we do is we're the team that goes in with the board, not the board members, but district representatives when it comes to contract negotiations. So this year is kind of important because this year we get to negotiate the whole contract. In other years, it's only salary and benefits that we get to negotiate in one article, but this year the whole contract is up for grabs, and so it's kind of important that we get our ducks in a row. So we're having our first meeting to kind of come up with some game plans on what we're going to do exactly. So that's where I'm headed to. I need to be there in about 15 minutes. I will try and record there. I obviously won't include any audio, but just to kind of show you what it looks like. So I'm having it's just been a challenging day. So to have to feel like you're being attacked by a parent when you know your heart is in the right place and your thoughts are in the right place, to be attacked by a parent like that, and for that parent to be so aggressive, coupled with the fact that, you know, you have your challenges day to day with your class, and, you know, the personality of your class can be challenging at times, and this year that happens to be the case for me. It just got to a point where it was a lot for me. During my prep time, I was sitting with Mrs. Chu, and I just told her I just feel so disheveled, like just out of sorts, because I think that really kind of threw me. Now, on the flip side, to be positive, just a couple of days ago, I know I have a parent who went out of their way to talk to my principal and asked if she was the one,
Mr. Brando, call the office. Mr. Brando,
in charge of hiring me, because he wanted her to know that he felt like, you know, she had hired a good one. I can't remember exactly what he said, but just he basically said she's a good teacher. I can tell she always goes above and beyond, and my principal agreed, and she was supportive, and she shared that with me, and she didn't have to, so that was nice. So when I got that text message last night, I had to immediately think of that particular parent, because I know this parent that's being aggressive with me right now is just one parent, and I know the other parents that I've spoken to up in my class right now, they've all been very nice and very supportive, but it just takes that one parent to say something or misunderstand or misinterpret or make assumptions to kind of throw your day for a loop. So I'm getting ready to pack up my things. I'm gonna head to my meeting, and I'll talk to you guys later. It is about 5:30. I'm just leaving my meeting. The meeting lasted a couple hours. I was about 30 minutes late because I ended up talking to my assistant principal before I headed over. And basically, I think I said we just kind of met to kind of come up with some questions we want to ask teachers, so when we start the bargaining process, we know that we are bargaining for the things that are actually of most concern to them. So we got that squared away, set up our next meeting, and I am really, really tired, so I am gonna go home, and I don't think I'm gonna do any work tonight. I'm gonna go home, call my mom, because she just called me, and I'm done for the day. So, aside from walking the dog, I might even go out to eat dinner. Like, I don't even want to cook, and I feel like after my day, I deserve a nice meal. So, I'm headed home. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning, so I'll see you then. Good morning, here's my outfit. Today I am wearing a new top from Old Navy. I bought this earlier in the summer, and I actually got this off the clearance rack. I think it was regularly $38, but I got it for $18. I'm not sure why it was on the clearance rack because it's very comfortable. I'm wearing some blue pants from New York & Company that I got several years ago. I'm wearing these flats that have a little like sparkle on it, if you can see it. Those were actually a Christmas present from my brother last Christmas. I'm wearing this two-tone Michael Kors watch and this necklace here that I got from Francesca's. So I will talk to you guys in a few minutes.
It's 7:15. I'm headed to work. I have quite a bit of a headache. When I woke up this morning to go to the gym, I woke up with a headache and took 3 Advil, and I still have the headache. I'm not sure if it's just a stress headache because yesterday was kind of a stressful day, but hopefully it goes away. And this morning I have my teacher support meeting with the principal, and it's a meeting that I believe we have once a year around this time, and you meet with the principal. She kind of goes over just things that are specific to you as a teacher, ask you if you have any concerns, if there's anything that you feel you need from her, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing that I need to bring to this meeting. So I have that at 8:15, and at 7:45 I am meeting with that parent that did not like the note I left on her son's math test. I'm meeting with that parent and the principal. So the principal did respond to my email that I sent yesterday where I said I would prefer to be there for the meeting. So I'm going to be there. And I'm not sure what I said yesterday. I can't remember, but really initially I told the principal, I would prefer for you to meet without me. The only reason I was initially going to meet with her, the parent, and the principal was because the parent sounded like that's what she wanted. But then she called the school and made it sound like she just wanted to speak to the principal. So I talked to the principal before I contacted the parent to set up the appointment, and the principal thought it would be a good idea for me to be there. But then she called me back and said, maybe you don't need to be there. I think this parent just wants to get things off her chest or be heard. And at that point I said, you know what, I maybe would prefer for that because I don't really have anything to say. I'm not going to change the note. I don't necessarily feel like I need to apologize for writing the note because the note was not rude in any way. I was just stating the facts. And then a couple hours passed, and then I changed my mind. I decided, no, I actually would rather be in the meeting because I want to make sure that the parent has an accurate depiction of the events that led up to her child pulling this ticket, how many times I had explained that, how many times I'd given those directions, how many times I had reminded them before taking the test, and how many times I've stated that on a test, work should be completed on a separate sheet of paper. So I didn't want there to be any question as to whether or not that was anything that I had told her some before. Like, I want it to be very clear that this was a well-known fact. So I'm gonna have that meeting. Hopefully it goes okay. I'm not really sure. Like I said, the mom and her tone on those text messages was pretty aggressive, so I don't know how she's coming in, but usually I stay pretty calm because when one person's already at a level 10, the last thing you need is for the second person to be at a level 10. So I think my headache is attributed to that because I did go to bed last night just very frustrated, like just frustrated because I can't speak for every teacher, but I know I can speak for myself, and all the things that I'm doing them with the best of intentions, and I really feel like I work hard for my students and for my parents to some degree. So I just really took offense to it. So I think that kind of gave me a headache. So after that, after my teacher support meeting, it's just going to be a regular day. It's Thursday, so my mom will be coming in to help me out. I'm going to go ahead and hope that my classroom's behavior is on point today. Yesterday was kind of rough during math. We had not multiple meltdowns. We had a meltdown. We had children choosing not to follow my directions, children that had to be sent out of the class, which made for a very challenging math lesson. So hopefully today will be better. So I will try, and I've talked to my principal about just recording a little bit of my teacher support meeting. Of course, I won't include any audio in case we start discussing particulars on students or whatever the case may be, but just to kind of give you a glimpse on, a teacher support meeting. She sounded like she might be willing to do it, but she's a little, I think, maybe feeling a little self-conscious about being on camera, which is understandable. So Maybe you'll see some of that meeting, maybe you won't, but you will see me later on today. I'll let you know how it goes one way or the other. So have a great morning if you don't get to peek in on my teacher support meeting, and I will talk to you guys soon.
Well, hello. It's 4:56, almost 5. I'm gonna be going home soon, but I wanted to let you know how my morning went, because I know I told you I had a parent meeting and then I was gonna have a teacher support meeting. And then I also wanted to kind of give you an update on where I'm at with Wonders, because I feel like I haven't really talked about that in a while, and that's kind of like a big part of my teaching life this year. So first and foremost, my parent meeting went surprisingly well. The tone of the text messages this parent was sending me on Remind was, like I said yesterday, very aggressive, very, to me, just very rude and kind of condescending to me, which I thought was ironic because she thought I was being condescending to her son. But today, when I walked in to meet with her in the principal at the office, she was smiled, said, "Good morning, Miss Robinson." I said good morning back to her. We went into the principal's office, and basically the principal let her start, since she was the one that initially called for the meeting. So we let her start, speak her piece, say what she had to say. I just listened, the principal just listened, and when she was done, I spoke my part. And what it came down to is, you know, she repeated what she said. She felt like the notes and the comments were negative. She wasn't sure if I was recognizing her son's intelligence or the fact that he's a high achieving student. And so my response to her was, I think you're misinterpreting the tone of the note that I wrote on his test. And I explained that I wrote that exact same note on every student's test if they did not follow the directions of underlining the question and circling the facts on the math test. And the second note, I don't know if I read it to you guys yesterday, where I'm asking him to complete his work on a separate sheet of paper. I just explained that that's something that I've always asked. So I let her know that there really was no tone. I wasn't upset when I wrote that note. I wasn't frustrated. I wasn't angry with him. It wasn't even really directed at him specifically, because everyone got that note. And just kind of gave her a bit of a reality of, like, I'm grading 33 of those tests, and I'm leaving notes of any kind. I'm always leaving notes on the math test, whether it's about the procedures they took to solve a problem, or questions I had, or just any kind of feedback. And to do that for 33 tests, on those particular tests, if you teach Go Math, those tests can be pretty involved in terms of grading them, because you have to read their responses. So I said, I don't really have time to kind of craft this flowery way of saying you haven't followed my direction. So after I explained it that way, and I also did tell her he has pulled tickets and other times also, because there are times where he is talking, and she said that he expressed the idea that he feels like, you know, he's trying to help his teammates and he's being told to pull tickets for that. So I just explained to her, if he's being told to pull a ticket and he is helping his classmate, he can come up to me in a respectful way and say, I was helping so-and-so, and I'm fine with that. So long story short, she was much nicer today in person than she was in those text messages, and we came to an agreement. She thanked both myself and the principal for meeting with us, told me, you know, she has no hard feelings, that she appreciates the job that I do. She knows teaching is tough, and so on and so forth. So that was good. I'm glad that that worked out much better, because I was, you know, quite, to be honest, quite irritated. And then my teacher support meeting didn't happen. I'm sure this happens to those of you that are watching. If you're teachers, our district is constantly short subs. And so we had a sub all lined up that was going to be a roving sub, because I was not the only one having a teacher support meeting today. There were several of us. So the sub would be coming to your class, relieving you while you go to your teacher support meeting. And then when you return, they would rove or move to the next classroom. But our sub got pulled because the district was short a sub, and in the grand scheme of things, a roving sub for teacher support meetings is less important than the need for a sub in a class, because the teacher's not there. So I don't know, I didn't have that support meeting, but it's okay. My class today, they were like the dream class from heaven. So yesterday I gave them a bit of a lecture about their behavior and the amount of time we're wasting with me redirecting. I told them that they were going to be missing their recess today to make up for the wasted time we had. This morning, I reminded them that they needed to be focused and conduct themselves like 5th graders and show that they understand the nature of their job as students so that I could do my job as a teacher. And I did say if we still struggle this morning, we'll miss our morning recess, but I will eat into some of their lunchtime too, meaning taking some of their time. And that just produced this environment where they were all paying attention, they were listening, they were on task, they were following directions. Even the kids that I have that are quite challenging in terms of their behavior, they were quiet, they were fine, they were doing everything they needed to do. And so when recess came, I made a point to tell them, you guys are doing a fantastic job. The way you're behaving is perfect, and really this is the way you should behave every day, not just on the days where you're worried about missing some lunch recess or when you know you're already missing your morning recess. But this is just the way you should behave every day because you're in the 5th grade and this is 5th grade behavior. So
good morning. Here's my outfit of the day. I am holding my arm here again to try and cover up the name of my school. This is just one of our school spirit t-shirts that kind of has a superhero theme because that's the district theme this year. So it's just a spirit shirt with the long and lean tank top underneath from Target. I'm wearing my Old Navy jeans, my red Chucks, and a silver watch. So happy Friday, everybody, and I'll talk to you later.
it's 1:37. My kids are at PE, so I thought I'd spend a few minutes checking in with you guys. I am currently, let me show you my desk right now because I like to just show you me in the moment. So I'm finishing my lunch right there, my apples, and I'm in the process of lesson planning right now. I'm deciding what number talks I'm doing for next week. I have been liking number talks so far. We're still in the very beginning stages. We just finished the round of making tens is the strategy. So we're moving on to making landmark or friendly numbers, which I'm not 100% sure what those are yet because this is my first time teaching number talks, but I will figure it out. My day has been going really well. I'm scared to say it out loud, but I feel like maybe we're over that really bad hump that I've been having with my class, and it's been a combination of me being very consistent with my expectations and being not that me being consistent has been a problem before, but I think with this class I have to be extra consistent. Like I can't even like cut somebody a break because then it just kind of opens up a whole can of worms. So I think it's a combination of that and a combination of me just figuring out the right strategies with dealing with my students that tend to be a bit more challenging. So I have one student who I referenced weeks ago when it was back to school night who has had meltdowns before. He had a bit of one today, and instead of battling it out with him or going back and forth, I just had a student escort him to another class. And he initially got mad because he thought I was blaming him for something, and I just explained, I'm not blaming you for anything. I'm just sending you away because you're clearly upset right now, and when I feel like you have had enough time to come back or have had enough time to calm down, we'll have somebody pick you up. So that's been the strategy I've been using with him. He came back, he was in a much better mood. My other student that's very active, now I don't know how long this strategy is going to work, but I had to take like a 49ers dog tag he had the other day. He was playing with it and I took it, and he's been asking for it back. And so I've told him, when you display perfect behavior, which for him is just being just on task, not out of your seat doing all the things he's normally doing, then I will give you that back. Now that has worked for the past 3 days, and I don't know what I'm gonna do when he technically has really good behavior and I have to give it back, because I'm not sure if me holding that lanyard or dog tag is what's working or not. Whatever it is, he's been good for the past few days. And then I have another one who I don't talk about much because he's not like a big behavior problem. He just doesn't do much. He just kind of looks like he's lazing around all day. He doesn't really complete his work. He just looks unmotivated in a whole group setting. But when you're with him in a small group, he does well. Like he will thrive if he's in a small group setting, but I just can't teach him that way all the time. So I talked to him a couple days ago because he's pulling a lot of tickets, and I told him, if you keep pulling tickets at this rate, when our end of the year activities come, you won't be allowed to go because you will have pulled too many tickets. So he asked me, well, you know, how do I stop that? And I think he really was asking, how am I going to not pull tickets? So I explained to him the things that he's doing that I think are easily avoidable, and said those are the things you need to work on. Today he's been doing really well. He doesn't feel well, so he is you know, extra quiet, but I know he's been trying also. So I did pull him to the side and told him he was doing a good job and said, this is the kind of behavior you need to display to make sure you get to those end of the year activities. So I also had 2 parents come in today. So I texted these parents yesterday to tell them that their son was in a really bad habit of just being out of his seat, getting out of his seat for no real reason, coming to ask me questions, coming to tell me things that aren't necessarily pertinent or important at the time. And they are very responsive parents. Like, they are constantly responding to what I have to say, asking me questions, trying to do everything they can to support their child. So they both came in this morning from the start of school, so about 8:15 to 11:30, just to kind of sit in class and watch their son. And you know, they're very nice. They came, said thank you for letting them come in. The mom gave me a Starbucks card for letting me come in, which I thought was nice, you know. So as far as my lessons, I again got through everything on my agenda. I even had time to do like a little book preview for my class, because they know I'm reading Lions of Little Rock, and one of the girls in my class asked yesterday if I could bring it in and just read a few pages from it, because they seem to be really interested in this book. So I brought this in since I'm going to be finishing it. I only have that much left, and read the first chapter to them. Mrs. Chu's at the door. Hold on. Hi. She was borrowing my social studies book, so she came to return it. What was I saying? Oh, so they're really interested in this book, so I read not a couple chapters, just 1 chapter to them so they could kind of hear it. So that went well, and yeah, I got through everything else. So right now I'm going to start lesson planning for next week, and when they get back from PE, we have about 20 minutes before the day's up. And we're gonna pack up, and then I'm gonna read them this read aloud. Today, our fun fact was Martin Luther King won the Nobel Peace Prize, and I feel like we already learned a whole lot about Martin Luther King. So instead of reading a book about him, I have this book called Alfred Nobel, and this book explains what the Nobel Peace Prize is, where it came from, how people earn it. It's a very interesting book. I learned quite a few things the very first time that I read it. So I will be reading that to them when they get back. It's kind of a nice thing to do after PE, because they get to hear a story, cool down, and relax. So I just thought I would check in. So it is 4:57. I just finished getting quite a few things done. I finished lesson planning. I got some student work up on the wall. It only took me 10 weeks to prove that yes, I am in fact teaching in here, and the students are actually doing some work. So I got my cell projects up, so I'm excited about that. That I have officially hit 1,000 subscribers, which is not big in the YouTube world, but it's pretty big for me, because I honestly, like I've said many times before, I wasn't even going to start vlogging because I thought nobody's going to want to see what I'm doing. And even when I started, I just kind of thought people are going to laugh at you because no one's going to be watching these videos, let alone subscribing to your channel. But I have officially hit 1,000 subscribers, which is very exciting, and it's very fun, and it makes doing these things much more fun to know that there's people out there watching. So all of you that are watching and have subscribed, I want to thank you so much. I will continue to do this, I know, at least for the school year, because I have committed to doing that. So I just want to say thank you for making this such a positive experience. And now I don't know, my next goal is maybe to hit 2,000. I don't know. So I hope you guys have had a great week, and I hope that you do have a great weekend. It's been fun talking to you this week, and I will talk to you soon. Well, I'll talk to you Monday. So I'll see you Monday morning. Bye.